really spend so much time and money, you know, on something that...
We're going to learn that a lot of people will have some kind of setback financially because of this.
Oh, absolutely, and we're going to have to deal with it. I actually said to Ron LaBelle today, is there any way we can try and get some state assistance for this? Because there are some areas where you would declare disaster
area, I mean,
individual homes, pretty damn close.
Yeah, I bet.
Here's what I want to say, Steve. First, Wamsutta Complex looks very good, and we hope to have many, many projects like that. Secondly, and we thank Steve Ricciardi for you know, sticking with it, and he's got the Victoria Riverside that he's trying to get through the ZBA, and I hope the ZBA gets that project going so we can get the workers from Wamsutta over to Victoria Riverside. We can get that project going, get that down tax base, and continue to convert these areas for you know, for the benefit of the city. So that's one project that's going well, and I'm hoping that he gets to go to his next one now. Second thing is Wamsutta. I'm sorry, Cliftex. I apologize, Cliftex. I think that we have been working very hard on that, and we'll have an announcement on that shortly. And then last but not least, you asked about Elko, and I can tell you we have laid out a number of different configurations and showed that property now to developers, both with streets cut through as well as a large developable lot. So your suggestion has been a darn good one. Your suggestion is darn good, not pretty good, darn good, and we appreciate it very much, and we've been using it, quite frankly.
Okay, moving on to the next caller. You are next with Scott Lang on WBSM. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Ken, how are you?
Great, thank you for calling.
Oh, thanks. It's a pleasure to speak to you, Mr. Mayor. I have maybe a question or a request, but there's been a lot of really unfortunate incidents in the last 6 months of people either being killed in drunk driving accidents, or the two fishermen who died off the pier, I think maybe it was in April or March or something like that, who had obviously been drinking heavily and had spent some time at either some city establishments or some establishments nearby. I would really encourage the police department to release the identities of the places where these people were receiving their alcohol prior to these accidents or tragedies occurring, because I think that, you know, we really need to start calling out these people. And the paper doesn't seem to want to report it, but maybe if the police department actually released that information, then the newspaper would have to report it. I'll make it to hear your comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for the call.
I have, you know, I've practiced law for 30 years, and the most serious cases that we've had, I do an awful lot of catastrophic or death cases always involve, sadly, alcohol and or impairments of some kind. And the fact of the matter is that it is very, very, it's senseless. It's absolute the most irresponsible criminal activity. That, I think, and arson are the two most senseless acts that I see, criminal intent acts. The fact is everyone is responsible. If you serve someone who's inebriated, they go out in their car and they drive it, it's the equivalent of firing into a crowd, quite frankly. I'm not in a position right now to comment on any of the establishments or homes or bartenders, whatever it might be. I just want to say this, though, that and this is what I tell the kids at every meeting that I go to in the high schools or the junior highs. You're absolutely never to get into a vehicle with someone who's been drinking, because that's when you let your guard down the most. You figure, well, I've you know, even if you have not had something to drink, do not ever get in a car with someone who's drinking, and do not get behind the wheel of a vehicle if you've had, and you're impaired in any way. If you've had a drink or two or three and you're impaired in any way, do not get behind a vehicle. I tell the kids, call me. Call your parents, call me, call a teacher, call a mentor, whatever it might be. So I think I don't know what the answer is, whether or not you put a list of establishments, but my feeling is there, but for the grace of God, goes an awful lot of people on a regular basis who've had a little too much, get behind the wheel of a car and don't realize that they're impaired. There are other people who absolutely get behind the wheel of a car when they're barely able to walk, and end up with these terrible accidents. They're tragic for the person who, the innocent victim that's involved. It's not tragic for the person who gets behind the wheel. That's something that's premeditated, and it has to stop. But it's a major problem in the United States, a major one in Massachusetts. I want you to think about all the articles you've seen in the Standard Times, in the Globe, and any of the local newspapers about young people or about individuals who are in auto accidents or as a result of alcohol, or the victims of alcohol-related accidents, and you'll realize, as this caller just did, that this is a very important problem that's got to be resolved. Families, I think, should start talking about it with their kids immediately. It's not something to shake off.
Getting to the establishment, it's very difficult to really nail it down to one particular establishment, and if you're not rock solid on it, you know, the city's liable to open up a pretty bad can of worms here. But from an investigator's perspective, it really is not the easiest thing to say, all right, this bartender or this establishment. Doesn't often happen where you can sort of single them out.
They're very difficult cases. I think they involve an awful lot of investigation and detail work. It's the equivalent of running a civil grand jury in order to get the fact pattern that you need for a dram shop case.
All right. Now, as far as Brooklawn Park, I know the morning host, Evan Rousseau, has brought this to your attention. Outdoor barbecues, people parking on the grass, destroying the lawns, blocking the streets, that sort of thing. With these soccer games, out-of-state license plates, predominantly the people with these infractions, according to Evan on this, and this is something he's been reporting on pretty much straight for 2 months. Is this an opportunity for revenue with all these fines? I mean, it seems to me that most people aren't able to get away with some of these things, and it hasn't been enforced if this is accurate.
I have indicated to the chief that this is something that we need to take a serious look at. I'll indicate the same thing to him again today. I can tell you that as a result of the rain today, I was at Brooklawn Park today at about 11:30, and first of all, the lawn there is in the same shape it was 2 years ago, and we're looking at a complete renovation of Brooklawn Park from the standpoint of fields and making sure that we have a park that people can be very proud of. As far as trash today, I can tell you that the crews must have done a very, very good job this morning before the rain, because Brooklawn Park was in very, very good shape from that perspective. But I think this is something that we will pay a lot of attention to. I can tell you, if it's being abused, there's not going to be any licenses or permits to use the park. If someone abuses the park, whether it's a league or anything else, if they don't take care of that privilege, which is a tremendous privilege, then it would seem to me that organization permit would be pulled. If there are people publicly, I heard in the past, publicly throwing trash around, lighting barbecues.
Is that legal?
No, I don't. I got to tell you, Ken. I think that it is not appropriate unless you have a permit or unless there's a specific barbecue area for individuals to go into the park and set fires. I mean, that's the last thing that you would want. So I think we'll make sure that this particular league understands what its obligation is. Parking's got to be followed. And if we have problems with it, then their permit's not going to be renewed. And as I said, I'm going to make sure that the chief gets down there and takes a look.
You're pretty much talking about athletes, so you would think that they'd probably be cooperative if they get the message.
It's a tremendous privilege to use our parks, and we expect people to keep them clean, follow all the laws, the parking laws, public decency. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of tolerance or sympathy if someone is flying on the other side of those responsibilities.
We have 4 calls, and we've got about just about 10 minutes left. Let's see if we can do a little speed round here. You're next with Mayor Lang. Thank you for calling.
Hi, Mayor and Ken.
Hi.
I heard something on the radio this morning, and that's where I usually get my information from. I'm not sure whether there's any truth to it, but somebody was saying that the construction job going on Rockdale Avenue was shut down because they were not paying the prevailing wage. And I just want to know if that is a fact, and if it is, what do you intend on doing about it? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Thanks very much. I didn't hear that. In fact, my understanding when I asked exactly what was going on in Rockdale today, they indicated in Kempton, they indicated that the weather stopped the job. But I can tell you, if there are requirements regarding prevailing wage or any other working conditions and they're not being followed, then the city's prerogative is to shut it down. But I have not heard that today.
All right, that helps with the speed round here.